Hello everyone, welcome to Civil Science Academy. Today we are going to do the second part of ethics and human interface. In this topic, we will focus on ethics and its relation with others. Now on the first slide, you see ethics versus other sciences. Now say, natural sciences like physics, chemistry and biology, they mainly study facts. For example, physics studies gravity, chemistry studies reactions, and biology studies plants and animals. And these sciences don't ask whether something is good or bad. They simply describe how things happen, right? But ethics is different. Ethics asks the questions like what is good for life and what is the right action. For example, physics can teach us how to make a nuclear bomb, but ethics asks should we use it. Physics gives us the knowledge, but ethics guides how we apply that knowledge. Okay, now continue. That's why we say ethics always points to an ideal end, not just to facts. It's not only about knowing, it's about living the right way also. That is why ethics is sometimes called as fruit of all sciences, because it perfects the human life and it gives directions to how we use our knowledge. Now think of it like this: science is like a powerful vehicle, but ethics is the steering wheel. Without ethics, the vehicle can go anywhere, right? Even cause the destruction also. But with ethics, we can drive it safely towards the human welfare. Now let's move to the next slide. Ethics and the psychology. See, psychology is the science that studies how human beings behave. For example, a psychologist might observe a child and say that this child lies when he is afraid. That's a descriptive. It just explains what is happening. But ethics comes in and asks a deeper question like, should the child lie when he is afraid? That is a normative. It's about what ought to be done, not just what is being done. Okay, so remember the difference. Psychology explains behavior, but ethics evaluates behavior. Think of it like this: psychology is like a CCTV camera. It records what people are doing, but ethics is like a judge. It asks is what they are doing right or wrong. For example, psychology may study why people cheat in exams, maybe fear, pressure or competition, but ethics will ask, is it right to cheat? Obviously the answer is no. So psychology gives us the fact, but ethics gives us the values. Together they helps us understand not just how humans act, but also how humans should act also. Now let's move on the next slide. Ethics and anthropology. Anthropology is the study of human beings, their cultures, their habits, their origins, and how societies live and grow. For example, an anthropologist may go to a tribal village and carefully study their customs of marriage. He will describe how those customs works and how people follow them and how they have continued for generations. But here the difference: ethics steps in and asks, are those customs just or unjust? Let's take child marriage as an example. In some cultures, it may have been a practice for years. Anthropology will simply record it. Yes, this community practices child marriage, but ethics will immediately ask, is this right? Is it fair for the child? And ethics will say very clearly, child marriage is wrong. So remember this contrast. Anthropology tells us what humans do, but ethics tells us what humans ought to do. It's like this: anthropology is like a documentary filmmaker showing us human practices across time and cultures, but ethics is like a guide or a concise whispering, not everything humans do is correct. We must evaluate and choose what is right. That's why ethics is essential. It gives direction to human culture and prevents harmful practices from continuing just in the name of tradition. Now let's move to the next slide. Ethics and social or political science. See, social sciences study how society functions, how people live together, and how systems are organized. For example, political science explains how elections take place, the rules, the process, the counting, and everything. But ethics comes in and asks the real question like, are those elections are fair? Are they free from corruption? In the same way, social science may explain the caste system also, how it developed, how it followed in different regions. But ethics steps in and says very clearly, untouchability is wrong. So you can see the difference. Social or political science describes how society works, but ethics provides the moral standard for how society should be organized. Think of it like this: social science is like an architect to draws the design of building, how it will look, how the structures will stand. But ethics is like a safety inspector who says, wait, is this building safe for people, or will it protect the lives? Without ethics, society may function, but it may not be just or fair. With the ethics, we ensure that our system like elections, laws, or social practices actually protect the human dignity and justice. Alright, now let's move to the next slide. Ethics and economics. Economics, as you know, is mainly about goods, services, and satisfying human wants. It studies how resources are produced, distributed, and consumed, right? For example, the economist might say, if we build a liquor shop in this city, it will create a revenue, increase business, and bring money to the government. That's purely an economic calculation, right? But then ethics steps in and asks the question like, wait, will this really promote human welfare, or will it destroy families or increase addictions and harm the society? And see the difference here. The economics focuses on profit and revenue, but ethics reminds us of the higher question like, is this good for people or for families or for the society? Now think like this. Economics is like a calculator. It counts profit and loss, but ethics is like a compass. It shows the right direction. And together they ensure that wealth is not just about money, but about well-being. That's why ethics guides economics, so that economists don't just chase profit, but actually serve the highest human good. Now let's move on to the next slide. That is branches of ethics. These are very important because they give us the basic terms we will use again and again in ethics. And don't worry, I will explain them step by step with simple example. So here the first one is descriptive ethics. The descriptive ethics simply records how people live and what moral codes they follow. It doesn't judge, it doesn't say right or wrong, only describes. Okay, for example, it may study taboos like Hindus don't eat beef or Muslims don't eat pork. It may record institutions like how families are formed and how marriages happen or how festivals are celebrated. It's like writing a diary of people's customs and values. For another example, the psychologist like Lawrence Kohlberg studies the stages of moral development in children. He just described how children's sense of right and wrong changes as they grow. He didn't say which stage is good or bad. He simply recorded the behavior. That's descriptive ethics. But let me give you a even simple example so it's will be too clear. For example, imagine you are just observing your classroom. Some students always stand up when the teacher enters. Some students never cheat in exams. Some students feel guilty when they lie. If you just write all this down without judging, that is descriptive ethics. So in short, descriptive ethics means what people actually do. It's like a camera, it only records. Okay, now let's move on this second branch, that is normative ethics. So if descriptive ethics was only about what people actually do, but normative ethics is about what people should do. It is about prescribing the rules, the standards, the ought, or how we ought to behave. Think of it like this. Descriptive ethics is a mirror. It shows that what is happening. But normative ethics is like a guidebook. It tells you what you should do. Let me give you some examples. The first one is the golden rule. That is, treat others the way you want to be treated. If you are hungry, you should want someone to give you food, right? So the golden rule says, if you see another person hungry, you should feed them also. Simple, direct, easy to understand, right? See, another example is Aristotle's virtue ethics. That is, Aristotle said that we should live with virtues like being courageous, being truthful, being generous. For example, if someone is being bullied, a virtuous person will stand up and show courage even if it's difficult. Virtue ethics tells us that good habit make a good life. Then we have the Kant's duty ethics. That is, Kant said, do your duty because it is your duty, not for reward. For example, if you promise a friend to return their book, you must return it, not because you will get a prize, but simply because keeping promises is your duty. Okay, we move on the next example, like Mill's utilitarianism. This says choose actions that bring the greatest happiness to the greatest number of people. For example, if the government has limited money and it has to choose between building a luxury park for the rich or building a hospital for everyone, utilitarianism says choose the hospital because it benefits more people. And of course, in our Indian tradition, we have the Bhagavad Gita's Nishkama Karma Yoga. It says that do your duty without expecting the fruits. For example, a farmer plants seeds and works hard, but he cannot always control the rain, right? Still, he does his duty faithfully without worrying about the result. That is the Nishkama Karma. So to make it simple, normative ethics means what should we do? What is the standard of right action? It gives us the moral compass to judge our actions. Let me give you one more simple day-to-day example. Suppose you are in an exam hall and you see someone cheating. Descriptive ethics would simply note, yes, students sometimes cheat. But normative ethics would tell you cheating is wrong. You should not do it, and even if others are doing it also. That is the difference between descriptive and normative ethics. Now let's move on to the third branch, that is meta ethics. Meta ethics goes even deeper. It doesn't just say what people do, that's descriptive, or what people should do, that's normative. Instead, it asks, what do we even mean when we say something is good or bad? Is morality real, or is it just human imagination? Or values universal, or do they change with culture? For example, when we say honesty is good, meta-ethics will not just accept that. It will ask, wait, what do we mean by good? Is it good because God commands it? Is it good because society approves it? Or is it good because it benefits the people? So meta-ethics is like standing above ethics and questioning the very foundation of moral idea. Let me give you a combined simple example with all three branches, so it's very easy. So imagine you are in an exam hall. Descriptive ethics will just observe some students are copying answers, some are not. It records the fact without judging. Normative ethics will say cheating is wrong, you should not do it. The right thing is to write your own answer. But meta ethics will ask, but what does wrong really mean here? Is it wrong because the teacher said so, or because rules say so, or because dishonesty itself is always wrong? I will give you another simple daily example. Suppose a shopkeeper returns extra money you accidentally gave him. Descriptive ethics would record, yes, the shopkeeper returned the extra money. The normative ethics would say, that is the right action. Shopkeeper should be honest. Meta ethics would ask, but why do we call honesty good? Is it good everywhere in all cultures, or only because society values it today? So put it in simply, descriptive means what people actually do. Normative means what people should do. Meta ethics means what do good, and bad even means good and bad, is there have any meaning? That is what the meta ethics will ask. Now let's come to the final branch, that is applied ethics. The applied ethics is where ethics becomes practical. It takes the principles we studied and applies them to real life issues and controversies. For example, the abortion, is it moral to end a pregnancy, or immoral because it takes away the life, right? For I will give you another example, that is euthanasia, mercy killing. If a patient is suffering without hope of recovery, is it right to end their pain, or wrong because life must always be preserved? And another example, that is animal rights. Can we use animals for experiments, or is it cruelty? The next example, the environmental ethics. Is it okay to cut down forest for industries, or should we protect nature even if it slows economic growth? And the final example I will give you, that is civil service ethics. If a government officer sees corruption, should he stay silent to protect his boss, or speak up to protect the public good? These are daily controversies, and that's why applied ethics is very important for UPSC, because administrators face such real life dilemmas all the time. Let's make it even simple with small day-to-day examples. That is, imagine you are in a hospital and there is only one ventilator left, and two patients need it, but one is a young student, another is an elderly man. Who should get it? That's an applied ethics question. Or think of social media. Should we allow complete freedom of speech even if it spreads hate, or should we restrict it? Again, it's also an applied ethics. Even in daily life also, should you buy cheap plastic because it's convenient, or avoid it because it harms the environment? That too is a applied ethics. So applied ethics is nothing but using ethical principles to answer real life what should we do questions. Okay, finally let's do a combined example with all four branches, so the differences will be clear. Imagine the issue of bribery in government jobs. Descriptive ethics will say simply records many officials takes bribes, but normative ethics says taking bribes is wrong and officials should act honestly. But meta ethics goes deeper. But why do we call honesty good? Is it good because of law, religion, or because it promotes trust in society? And these questions will ask the meta ethics. But applied ethics will ask, in this real life, if an officer is offered a bribe, should he accept it to feed his starving family, or reject it to uphold integrity? And that's how these will be different to each other. Now all four branches are connected, but applied ethics is one that directly helps us in the real decisions. I will give you another very simple example to understand you. Imagine this. You go to a shop, you buy something for 90 rupees, and you give the shopkeeper 100 rupees. By mistake, he returns 20 rupees instead of 10 rupees. The descriptive ethics is like an observer who says the shopkeeper returned extra money, that's all, just recording what happening. Okay, normative ethics steps in and says the shopkeeper should be honest and returning only the correct change. Taking extra money is wrong, it gives the moral rule. But meta ethics goes deeper and asks, but why do we say honesty is good? Is it good because religion teaches it? Is it good because society benefits from it? Or is honesty good in itself, or no matter for what? But applied ethics is about the real decision in front of you. Now you are holding that extra 10 rupees, right? Should you keep it quietly and walk away, or should you return it to the shopkeeper? And that's how these are different from each other. Okay, right, so that's it for today's class. I will be uploading the next content in the coming days, so stay tuned, and yes, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Civil Science Academy. Take care and see you in the next session.